See, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to come out of government after having been the chancellor of the city of New York and become the secretary of education. Supposed to go from being the deputy mayor of the city of New York to, head of the Ford Foundation, head of Congress, whatever. What he did was saddle you with a bunch of political and legal nonsense that had nothing to do with you, and hurt a whole cadre of black people that was supposed to emerge and help take us to another level. Put that aside.
That's another podcast.
That's another.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was a snippet of the inaugural episode of a brand new podcast called The Beacon and Blueprint, hosted by my next guests, former schools chancellor David Banks and former First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, who were two of Mayor Adams' highest-ranking officials before departing the administration in 2024 amid the swirl of federal investigations. They also happened to be married. They tied the knot that same year, and they join me now to discuss the podcast, which is debuting today, what viewers and listeners can expect, and much more. David Banks and Sheena Wright, welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
So I should mention that was Kirsten John Foy, a civil rights activist in the podcast, who was telling you guys how you were done in by Mayor Eric Adams. We'll get to that. But I guess first, just tell me what the idea was behind the podcast, because you guys have been sort of out of the public eye for the last year plus, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that, David and I have been in public service. I mean, between us, it's about 70 years. He was a 40-year career, I was a 30-year career. And we really see this as a way to continue to be of service. The goal and objective of the podcast is really to inspire people, to educate them about key issues, and ultimately to activate them, to really give people tangible things to do, to be a part of our civic democracy, to make the kinds of changes that we need to make and that we've worked for our whole careers.
And I think, Bobby, also, we've had so many people since we left office who said, we still need to hear your voice. We've both been leaders in our community for many, many years, and I think people were disappointed that they weren't hearing from us. This is a platform which gives us an opportunity to share our thoughts about what we think and how we see things happening around the country, around the city. But in addition to that, to be in conversation with lots of leaders who also have strong opinions, as you heard earlier from Reverend Kirsten John Foy and so many others. And we do it at our home in Harlem, so it's not in a studio. It's like in a tradition of Harlem, we would have these salons, and you bring people over. And so I think our audience will have an opportunity to really hear us in these great conversations right in our own home.
Yeah, it's a good-looking podcast. So I got to ask you guys some questions because people are wondering how things went down back in 2024. Around that time, your home was visited or raided, I guess some people might say, by federal investigators. I mean, what was your reaction to when that happened?
First of all, there was no raid. I would say that certainly David and I have never been accused of anything. We never did anything wrong, and people have a job to do. People have investigations to do. We have no idea, where that has landed, but we're good. I mean, we feel good about the work that we did for the city and the service that we performed. And like I said, we've not ever been accused of anything, and we haven't done anything.
Listen, nobody ever wants to have the FBI come to your house, right? They had a job to do. I think to some degree, we were kind of swept up in investigations that they were looking at lots of people. We had nothing to do with any of it. It's been a year and a half since it happened. We've never heard another word since. They never gave us our phones back, but what we understand is that that's not uncommon. People go years without even getting their phones back. But it was a moment in time, and Sheena and I have continued to, we loved our time in city government, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a very short amount of time given all that we have done throughout our entire careers in terms of trying to help the people of the city.
Well, but of course, there were some serious repercussions. Both of you departed the administration, and Sheena Wright, you left the administration, I think, through not necessarily through your own choice. I mean, did you feel like you were pushed out?
No, not at all. I had really been in the administration almost, I feel like a year earlier. We did the transition, which was a heavy lift. And I'd already been planning my next steps, so I did not feel that way at all. And you know, these are hard jobs, and it's to think that somebody can do it for like 8 years, you know, continuously. It's a lot, but I really do feel good about what we accomplished. Certainly, the work that we did around affordable housing. I'm particularly proud personally of the work that we did for MBE contracting. We passed a historic legislation to really make sure that the city invests in community hiring in terms of its procurement. And one of the biggest things I'm proud of is that we put $1.4 billion of wages into nonprofits who are on the front lines every single day. We got a lot done, and certainly David had some major accomplishments as well.
Listen, I could not be more proud of the team that we had in place and some of the big accomplishments that we had. Probably the main thing was we laid out a vision really for what education should look like. We retrained all the teachers across the city around reading and literacy. That's probably the biggest legacy work that we engaged in. We also engaged with the business community and helping to make career connections with young people, particularly our older students, so that when they get out of school, you know, they have a clear plan on, you know, a career path, whether they go to college or they don't. And ultimately, I think the way we showed up as related to what was going on in the Middle East. And you know, I got called to testify before Congress, and we did that, and we were able to really speak very clearly to the work that we were doing in New York to help folks understand that we cannot have hate in our system. Anti-Semitism cannot stand, Islamophobia cannot stand, racism cannot stand, and just shout out and kudos to all the great people in the New York City public school system who really rose to the occasion. I'm so proud of that work.
With everything that happened, I have to imagine it damaged your relationship with former Mayor Eric Adams. Are you guys still in contact?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, as I said, these are hard.
You wouldn't say it damaged the relationship, or you wouldn't say that you're still in contact?
No, I wouldn't say that there's any damage. I mean, these are hard jobs, and it was a very difficult time for a whole host of reasons. And I think one of the reasons that we wanted to do this podcast, you know, there's so much narrative and attention and focus on this very small amount of time and this incident that is not reflective of our experience. It's not reflective of our contribution. It's not reflective of who we are. And so to really have a platform where we are continuing the work that we have been doing for decades in service and in conversation with people, and really to continue to help and inspire our community. And that was really one of the things that encouraged us to do this. And we're having a great time.
What do you think about the job that Mayor Mamdani is doing so far?
Listen, it's a tough job. Sheena's probably better prepared to really speak to that.
No, I mean, I think he's very inspirational and very clear. It's certainly in his priorities, and as you heard in the episode, I mean, I think that was one of the really amazing things. I think he's got a great team. Many of them were you know, our teammates back in the previous administration, and you know, it's tough. He's got a tough road ahead. But he's got a great team, and I think I have a lot of faith in the civil servants in the city of New York that we're going to be good.
I remain very hopeful for him. One of the things I think that inspired me the most about his election was the amount of young people who got involved. You know, you often hear that young people don't care about politics, they don't get involved. I think his campaign demonstrated otherwise, and I think that's the thing that keeps me most helpful. I will tell you, I have been disappointed that he did not select a black deputy mayor. And Mayor Adams, I think, you know, put together the most diverse cabinet in the history of New York City. And every mayor in the last 50 years has had a black deputy mayor. I think it's important. I think it matters. I think representation matters.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he chose to do it otherwise, I heard him say in response to the question that he had a black chancellor. Chancellors don't impact what happens every day in City Hall. I was a black chancellor, so I know. And I played a very significant role with the administration. But it was Sheena and the other deputy mayors who really were calling the shots on what was happening on a day-to-day basis across a wide range of topics. As a chancellor, you're just running your agency, so it's not the same thing. And I would really hope that at some point he would reconsider that, because I think it does matter.
And it's important, I think, because if your issue is affordability, you've got to address the needs and concerns of black New Yorkers who are really at the crosshairs of affordability in this city.
We got to go, but I know you're watching the school system. Was it they had a snow day on Monday? Was that the right call? We hadn't had a real snow day in 6 years.
No, I think it was the right call. I think they were very fortunate that the State Education Commission was able to grant them a waiver.
Right.
The reality is that you have to do 180 days.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you pay a fine of up to millions of dollars.
Right.
And unfortunately, most kids were away on vacation, teachers were away. Nobody has the devices in their hands to even call for a remote day. And so they were in a tough spot, and I think they did the best that they could. But we're really excited about this podcast. We hope that people tune in, The Beacon and the Blueprint.
Absolutely. All right, David Banks and Sheena Wright, thank you guys so much. And you can check out that podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch it on YouTube.